What you are seeing and hearing right now is a metronome. The job of a metronome is to set the tempo for music. Because of this, the metronome is the basis of all music. The current tempo you're hearing right now is 120 beats per minute, or BPM. This means that the metronome will click 120 even times within a minute. Now, not all music is played at 120 BPM. Music can be played at any tempo. We'll talk about that some more in another video. For now, we'll stay at the common tempo of 120 BPM. Now, you might be wondering how this actually relates to music. I'm sure almost everyone has heard of music having a beat or a tempo, but what does that actually mean? This is a quarter note. Usually, when we talk about tempo, each one of the beats you heard earlier would represent one quarter note. This is most oftenly what people feel or move to as the beat of a song. Before we move on to explain different types of beats and note values, it is important that I state that this video is a very basic explanation of music theory. A lot of times, music doesn't follow a specific set of rules, and there are a lot of little differences based on how music is written. So for the sake of making this video as easy to understand as possible, it will all be explained in 4/4 time. This is called a time signature. The number on the top shows how many beats a measure gets, and the number on the bottom shows what note gets a beat. A measure is used to help musicians keep track of rhythm by dividing sheet music into organized sections. They also give a sense of pulse to the music. Measures are indicated by a vertical bar separating them, and the length of a measure is determined by the time signature. Before we continue further, it is important to explain the different notes, values, and beats in music. The 5 most common types of notes seen in music are the whole note, the half note, quarter note, eighth note, and the 16th note. For now, we'll use 4/4 time to explain, as 4/4 is the most common time signature seen in music. In 4/4 time, the quarter note gets the beat. This is because the quarter note has a value of 1/4. The bottom number of both the time signature and the value of the note are the same, so 4 quarter notes will fill up one measure in 4/4 time. Based off of the chart from before, we can now determine 8 eighth notes are required to fill a measure of 4/4 with eighth notes. 16 16th notes are required to fill a 4/4 measure with 16th notes. 2 half notes are required to fill a 4/4 measure with half notes. 1 whole note is required to fill a measure of 4/4 with whole notes. Now, if you didn't get that, I don't blame you. I used a very mathematical explanation of the relationship between those 5 types of notes. I feel that explaining notes this way makes it much easier to understand the relationship between note values as we get more complicated. If you didn't understand that previous section, it's perfectly fine. The main point of what I was saying about note value relationships is the following. 1 whole note takes up as much time as 2 half notes, which take up as much time as 4 quarter notes, which take up as much time as 8 eighth notes, which take up as much time as 16 16th notes. If you haven't already noticed, there is a relationship between the names of the notes and how they fill up a measure of 4/4. With 4/4 being the most common time signature, knowing the names of the different notes will be very helpful in remembering how notes function within sheet music. The final topic we will discuss in this first video is an introduction of clefs. We will go more in depth with reading pitch in the next video. Clefs show musicians the position of notes on the staff, and they are required for musicians to be able to read sheet music. The most common clefs seen in music are the treble clef and the bass clef. Instruments that sound higher, like the violin and the flute, will use treble clef, while instruments that sound lower, like the double bass or the tuba, will use bass clef. Different clefs display a different range of pitches and are required to accommodate the different pitch ranges that each instrument can play. Now let's pull everything together that we've talked about so far. Tempo is determined by a metronome. Each click of the metronome is one beat. In 4/4 time, the quarter note gets one beat. The 4 on the top states that 4 beats fill one measure of 4/4. The 4 on the bottom states that each of those 4 beats are quarter notes. The most common notes seen in sheet music are the quarter note, whole note, half note, eighth note, and 16th note, and the names of the notes help to understand how many of them fill a measure of 4/4. There are two main clefs in music: treble clef for higher pitched instruments and bass clef for lower pitched instruments. All clefs display pitch in different ways that make it easier for musicians to understand and read the music.